What is the strongest monster that Zeus has ever fought? In today's episode, we find out when the king of the gods goes toe-to-toe with Typhon, the most powerful monster in Greek mythology. Will Zeus prevail? Or will this be the day that a monster dethrones a god? Let's bug battle. Born from the union of Gaia, the earth, and Tartarus, the underworld, Typhon was an enormous monster whose sole purpose was to destroy the Olympians. He challenged Zeus to a one-on-one matchup, but it didn't take long for Typhon to overwhelm the god. According to some accounts, Typhon fought with all the strength of 1,000 bulls, and he overpowered Zeus so much that the god had to resort to trickery in order to defeat him. But before Zeus could make his move, Typhon dealt him a devastating blow that severed all the sinews in the god's legs. Without his sinews, Zeus was utterly helpless. And so Typhon dragged him back to his lair in Cilicia, where he propped the god up on 2 stones like one would with a pair of newly caught fish. Then he went to get some well-earned R&R, leaving Zeus stranded on the stones for 3 whole days. Luckily, the god was eventually spotted by Hermes, who went to retrieve some fresh sinews from the recently sacrificed Iphigenia. With the help of Pan, Hermes brought the sinews to Zeus, who wasted no time reattaching them to his legs. Now fully recovered, Zeus wasted no time in returning to Cilicia to exact his revenge. He located Typhon, who was still sleeping from his hard day's work, and began hurling thunderbolts at him. Startled awake, Typhon roared and shook the ground as he tried to flee from Zeus's onslaught, but the earth itself seemed to conspire against him. As he ran, the ground split open, and the monster fell into a cavern. Zeus then hurled one final thunderbolt after him, burying him alive beneath Mount Etna. And so the reign of terror that was Typhon came to an end. However, some say that his spirit still lives on in the volcanoes that litter the earth, waiting for the day that he can rise again. Do you think that Typhon had what it took to defeat Zeus? Let me know your thoughts. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, then check out our other videos, which bring you the greatest stories from all across the world. We've got plenty of content for you to sink your teeth into. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. And as a special treat for our viewers, I'm going to tell you about a certain author who wrote down these very myths. See, despite how old these stories are, they were actually first recorded by a guy named Hesiod in his book The Theogony. Hesiod was born sometime around 700 BC on the Greek island of Lesbos. And because he had no surviving family members, scholars have been unable to determine much about his early life, although some speculate that he spent some time as a shepherd. At some point, though, Hesiod made his way to Athens, where he settled down and started writing. His most famous work, aside from the Theogony, is a poem called Works and Days, which is basically a self-help book written in Hesiod's Old Goat. It contains some of the earliest known uses of the term eco-friendly, and it includes some rather uncomfortable details about how to properly mistreat your slaves. But I'll leave those details for another video. For now, let's focus on the Theogony, which serves as the foundation for many of the Greek myths that we know and love today. The poem details the genealogy of the gods, starting with the creation of the universe and ending with the Trojan War. But there's a lot more included as well, including stories about the labors of Hercules, the origins of humanity, and a bunch of other stuff that you might recognize. So anyway, I just wanted to take a moment to highlight this ancient author, because without him, we might not know a lot of these stories. But anyway, that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been your host, and until next time, stay cool.